Motopia was a visionary urban design project sponsored by Pilkington and published in a 1959 book.
The name of this revolutionary project is Motopia, and its location, 1,000 acres of land at Staines, Middlesex. This miniature dream world is the brainchild of the Glass Age Development Committee, convened to stimulate new ideas and creative interest in architecture.
As explained in the acknowledgements, the project team comprised Ove Arup as engineer, Edward Mills as architect, and Geoffrey Jellicoe as landscape architect and landscape planner. The various works of Monsieur Le Corbusier are also mentioned, and the comparison of his and Jellicoe's approaches to housing is very interesting. As discussed in the video on Chandigarh, Corb had a considerable interest in landscape architecture, and part of the rationale for his Ville Radieuse towers was to create green space at street level. Jellicoe obviously had Corb's project in mind when making this proposal for Toronto. I think the landscape plan and the architecture are better than Corb's, but they have the same fault. As Jellicoe wrote at a later date of Corb's Unité d'Habitation, it may be that his great and uncompromising works do not answer the problem of the individual. The landscape design of Motopia does respect the individual and is better than either the Ville Radieuse or Corb's work in Chandigarh. Jellicoe says that Motopia is the diagram of an idea only and should not be taken literally either in regard to its site, which is in the green belt round London, or in the severity of its geometry, which in reality would be complex. 8 of the best things about Motopia are: placing the buildings above a network of lakes was a brilliant conception. Using the residential blocks to surround and create good urban space was exactly the right policy, and the thing which modernist architects most often got wrong. Basing the dimensions and proportions of the squares on existing examples in London was also right. Jellicoe mentions Lincoln's Inn and Russell Square as precedents. Locating destinations in green spaces, including a yacht club, schools and churches, is a good way to attract users and uses. The contrast between the architectural grit and the romanticism of the planting design creates a successful landscape composition. The arcaded pedestrian walks to the railway station, which Jellicoe calls a stoa, would surely have been appreciated. The layout included over 1,000 small private gardens, planned very much like the Jellicoe's own garden in Grove Terrace. The design team wanted to have different architects working on certain basic standard units, which they thought would create inventive and entertaining variations. This idea is not illustrated in the book, but it is what West 8 did at Borneo Sporenburg in Amsterdam, and it works very well. The least attractive aspect of Motopia was putting the roads on the tops of the buildings. The engineer believed this was practical, but from the points of view of noise, vibration and air pollution, we now know that it was a thoroughly bad idea. Putting them and the car parks underground would have been much better. And the rooftops could then have been used for gardens, as is now being done in the redevelopment of Battersea Power Station. Jellicoe was friendly with Ove Arup, but appears to criticise him when writing of the traffic administrator that, when we ask him about cyclists, he gives us an answer we do not like at all, that the cycle, as a form of traction midway between pedestrian and car, is an anachronism in the modern world. Looking back from 2016, Motopia should have been designed as Cycletopia. The only provision for automobiles should have been a car club near the railway station. But with better transport engineering, there is a strong case for going ahead with Jellicoe's project. Its design is, for example, much better than the published plans for Ebbsfleet Garden City.
Designer Geoffrey Jellicoe, in glasses, claims that although this £60 million plan, cost of a conventional town of the same size, was originally designed for the future, it can be done today as an economic proposition. Well, what are we waiting for?
My second-hand copy of Motopia, I think purchased in Cairo in 1975, has a sketch inside the back cover which shows what happens when you let road engineers take the lead in residential planning. It's not good.